Doug, Doug, Doug.
What? What?
What the heck is florete?
Florete. Floretes are little flowers. Floretes. Actually, in Filipino martial arts, we have this thing called floretes, where when you see people twirling around and doing the multiple motions that they're doing there, that's floretes, like tiny circular flowers. If you look at just the tip of my weapon. So if to understand that, others call it redondo, because basically they're double striking from one side. But people need to understand the difference between a florete in combat and baton twirling. Because a lot of times, if you're just twirling your baton, it gets hit, you're going to lose your weapon. But when I'm watching people do the florete, I look at their eyes. Is their intent with their striking? So a quick understanding of florete, it's 2 strikes. I hit and I hit again. I hit and I hit again. And I can change in different angles. One of the things people don't understand about floretes is that it's a double hit. I may miss and I hit you again, or I miss and I hit you again. I miss and I hit you again. I miss and I hit you again. It can also be that I can change levels, where if I hit here and I hit an uppercut, or coming down and I hit horizontal, or I hit horizontal, then I hit diagonal up, or down here, then uppercut. So floretes can help you change the trajectory of your strikes. Right now, it's coming at this angle, then I go horizontal. Or I strike down here, then I go uppercut here. Or I strike down here, then I come upward this way. So they're nice circular patterns that allow you to hit more than once. But you have to understand where it works the minute you hit something, because that's going to change. So a lot of floretes for impact are used with just the tip. That's why tiny flowers with the tip. If I hit and I hit again, that's wider. You won't find a lot of floretes used in terms of hitting right away, because the minute you hit something, it's going to change to get to re-up your strike. Some people actually do it this way, up here, then they hit down. The strike over here, obviously there's nobody here, but they're using a wind-up for their own kind of, I'll say, velocity. It's like a wind-up to hit again, a wind-up to hit again. So these strikes are here, obviously there's nobody this tall up here, but when they drive the strike forward, it's also used as engaño or fakes. Maybe I'm faking this, I can hit you there. I faked it here, and I can hit you there. So the fake out into the power strike, the fake out to the power strike is part of the things that floretes can also do. Now, can you do floretes with swords? Yes and no. I found that when you have a very sharp object in your hands, anytime you start flailing like this in the movies, looks good. The minute you start cutting into something, it's not as an effective a cut. You have to truly cut and cut, cut and cut. See why it's so wide? Because I'm running the edge as I'm cutting, and I'm cutting. I'm running that edge again because the swords have weight. Also, if I'm just moving around here, I could cut myself. I'm very aware of the weight and the control of the weapon. So a lot of times when they're doing this, maybe just for their exercise, but the minute they make impact, they're starting to run the edge. It's no longer all these flowery, pretty stuff. But is flowery and pretty stuff good? Absolutely. It's part of the art. It's part of the art to feel good about the flow. I'm getting my wrist workout here. I'm seeing the double hits. But I truly am practicing also that they are indeed double hits and not just twirling. And then you have to hit something with it so that you truly understand true control with where it's hitting and why it's more of an impact tool than it is as a sword. So what's your understanding of the florete?
So in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I will tell you what my understanding of the florete is.
Yeah.
You have 2 different things that you can do. One, or 3 technically. You have the art form of it, right? Being able to flow with the stick and combine movements to make it fluid. 1, art. Combat application with the stick is 1, winding up fakes and power. So you can set it up, bam, bam, and you can drop down here, but you set it up, block strike, and come through. But you can't translate it that well to blade, and you also need to be able to hit something with it. Why? Because if you're just bang, bang, it's going to come back and smack you in the face. Did I miss anything?
No. And with a sword, you're learning that if there's double cut, there's just cut and cut.
Yes, sir.
Cut
like
cut.
in
The edge.
In OG, we have the Redona, right? Like aiming low, checking high, or reverse Redona coming in from the back of the leg and then to the decap to the head. So for me, in tournament, I can see this coming in with like the abanico almost, and then coming in with that florete. So combining movements.
Yep. So exactly that, right? In watching the way, when you train floretes, you have to do it with an impact weapon and a sword. Why? Because the sword's going to tell you a lot of things. When I do it this way and I'm not paying attention and I'm just going this way, I'll see if I'm doing stick, then I can get away with the flat of the blade and then cut. In reality, I don't want to end up hitting with the flat of the blade where I can lose the weapon as it makes impact. I want to work with the edge, and I'm working with the edge because that's why you have the sharp edge of a sword. So when you're doing this, and I'm feeling the riding of the edges of cut and a cut and a cut and a cut, and I cut high, or I can cut high, cut low, or cut low and cut high. So all these circular is what I'm riding the edge. Now I can do a point of percussion right on the tip, just a tip to scratch someone, or it could be a long range attack, and then he comes in, I cut with the edge or the deeper part of the blade as he's moving with the double cuts, right? So sword work is totally different than stick work.
Okay, quick question. We have less than 30 seconds. We might get cut off.
Yep.
We were doing Balante last night with like the infighting, right? The in of close quarters.
Yep.
Can you technically do Balante with florete, meaning that you come up and down with a double cut in a hallway?
So yes, you can, but that's not florete anymore. Florete is where they're circular. So they're recycling the strike, whether you're on the backhand to backhand or forehand to forehand or double forehand coming down. So that's the difference between a florete and just striking and moving. And witiques are different. They're not floretes. Floretes are your circulars that form little tiny circular patterns that are akin to twirling or beautiful, but they're actually double cuts.
Awesome. We're going to get cut off. Doug Marcaida, thank you.
Stay sharp, folks.
Welcome everyone to Sharp Talk. My name is Tomas Alas, and with me today is martial arts instructor, impact weapon specialist, historian, documentarian. I just said documentarian. Doug Marcaida. It's Doug Marcaida.
How's everybody doing today? Welcome for another great episode of Sharp Talk. Because today we have so much to talk about, especially things that will keep our mind sharp, even if it's all about impact.
I'm super stoked. Let's cut into it. All right, Doug Marcaida, we recently came back from Blade Show 2024. Can you share with the audience some of your highlights and some of the things that really stood out to you?
Well, this Blade Show 2024 was the first time I actually had my own booth, which was dougmarcaida.com. And that's where I got to present all my different designs, my collaborations, right in one spot. I mean, all these years that I'm going to the Blade Show, it's usually because I'm working a booth with Fox USA or with Russian Blades, or when I was presenting the DMAX, all these different knife companies that I was there for. This is the first time where I actually was there for myself, and I had a blast. Normally, when I'm walking everywhere, it's hard to find me, or I'm finding a hard time to communicate or meet with people. But at least I was in the same spot, so people came over to meet and greet, and that to me was so satisfying to see a lot of people who engage in our social media and to get to really touch hands with our fans and followers of everything that we do with Fortune Fire and, of course, the Blade.
It was so crazy. That place was nonstop busy. I came by it multiple times and there was lines and groups of people. And anytime we started doing a demo, boom, everyone came, and it was so special being able to share the way of the Karambit, the Blade. And you also announced a new project. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. During the Blade Show, I met with a fellow luminary of the Karambit, and that's Ray Dionaldo. So Ray Dionaldo is the head of Philippine Combat Systems, FCS, and he was the guy. So I fell into the Karambit world because of my teacher, who actually showed me. He came from a silat background, and he showed me some ways with the Indonesian, Malaysian way of doing silat with their Karambits. So I learned it. I loved it automatically. But when I was doing my research on furthering my studies of Karambit, I saw a word, King of Karambit. Like, who's that? And I saw Ray Dionaldo, and I was blown away. I'm like, I understand how he moves. That's what I can relate to in the way he uses the Karambit. That's what I want to do. And I use him as an inspiration because as Filipino martial artists, I saw a lot of the things that he was doing. And I saw it's the same thing that we do in Filipino martial arts. I can relate to that. The mechanics and the movements I can relate to. So I was able to move and develop my own way of doing the Karambit through my experience with Filipino martial arts. And it just flowed because, well, basically that's who I am. So that's why I was so excited to be able to announce that. I told Ray, we're getting older. The Karambit has done so much for us. You know, we can't deny that. Now, as we're getting older in our age, it's time to prepare to leave that of which made us shine. It's time to prepare and leave behind the Karambit, what it did for us, how it made us enjoy the passion of Filipino martial arts with the Karambit, and the designs we do and the seminars we've done. Now it's time for us to leave it behind so somebody else can do it. Somebody else can enjoy it and learn from what we've done. But the beauty of this also is we've also said, wait a minute, we're two heads, different worlds, similar worlds. What if we really come together and design a hybrid system? You see, this is a legacy art. It's a legacy project, meaning we're going to be doing this for the next 5 years, and we're going to collect every seminar that we're doing and putting it all together because we just don't know what we're going to come up with as we're training.
We actually just released an episode, so make sure to watch that for even more details. But it sounds to me like this is an homage. This is an ode to the Karambit, being able to combine everything that you guys know and get two different styles. I mean, to me, it's almost like you have the art, the combat art, the history. I am so excited for this. And for anyone that did take the Way of the Karambit seminar, it's just going to be an emphasis on that, an exclamation point on top of that. And I'm so stoked. And where's this kicking off at?
We are kicking off at the Legacy FMA in Daly City. We'll have the links posted out there. It's a 2-day event, August 17th and 18th. And that's where Ray and I will come together and put our minds together as a true duet, as a true co-instructors, meaning Ray will have his assistant, they'll be doing stuff. I'll have my assistant, we're going to be doing stuff. So you have the two different systems come. Then Ray and I will start feeding each other, and we're going to start to analyze each other's moves. What are the strengths that we see? What are the weaknesses? What will I do with this? What is this inspiring me to see? And the same thing for Ray that we're going to. So we don't know what's going to be. That's why I'm so excited because, you know, as a fanboy of Ray's work, I get to do something with him to definitely come up with something new from the old, but it's a true evolution.
That's incredible. When you guys like braced up with the two Karambits, and I was like, oh yeah, we'll just get a quick shot of you guys doing something together. And I'm over here just going like, what in the world? It was incredible to watch. I was
And you know, what people don't know is I've never really worked with Ray in that capacity. We've co-taught in seminars before, but he was doing his stuff, I did my own stuff. We never really got together. And that's why a lot of times when you meet up with someone, you have a basic alphabet and basic choice of words, but we don't know how our penmanships are going to work together. So a lot of times when we do this without injuring each other is phenomenal. That's the whole thing. I don't want to move. I don't want to hit. I don't want to. We're constantly trying to avoid as we're still showing the motions. So imagine when we come up with the techniques and the reasons why the art has made us so passionate about it. I mean, that's going to turn to something special. The Way of the Karambit really for me is a way that I express my Karambit love, what I do with the Karambit. Now, the Karambit Unleashed is inviting another Filipino martial art luminary that's also good with the Karambits. So us putting our heads together, we get to look at the history because we want to know where did we come from? What did it do? And it's one of the things. Ray and I have been doing this in modern day within the last 2 decades, maybe, right? But the Karambit is an ancient weapon for over 1,000 years. When you look at Indonesia and Malaysia, we just adopted it because we like it in the modern day world. But we want to talk about its creation, the reason for its creation, the myths. Oh, it was a farming tool as opposed to a weapon. All these other things. And then we invite modern day Karambit makers, not just the practitioners. If you are part of making Karambits, we probably want to meet up with you and see what is it about your design that you're doing this. And we can feature you. We can find out about it because it's all about our love for the Karambit.
Exactly. The love of blades, modern, historic. And that also transitioned into some of the other things that we were doing at Blade Show. We had the incredible honor and opportunity to interview bladesmiths, blacksmiths, martial artists, designers. Oh my gosh. Can you tell us about some of the people that we can expect in the next coming weeks or so? Some of the interviews that we're going to be dropping. Who did we get to speak with?
So one of the meaningful things about having my own booth this year, thanks to my friends from Triari Group who are right beside us, and they even shared their booth so I can have an area that I could do some interviews, which was so meaningful because I got to interview one of my first instructors, Tuhon Bill McGrath. We actually got to reenact one of those days in the 90s when I was his uke or his dummy and getting all the stretches, the hits and everything. I got to feel that again. But it was also an opportunity for me to thank him that all his teachings, not limited to martial arts, the values, the good character that he developed in me, and the things that we need to do to be right and responsible what we did, I was able to thank him and let him know specifically too. You know, I did this when I was with you and I was young and I was so stupid, But here's my lesson that I learned from that, and I got to thank him for that. And then we had other luminaries like Michael Janik, Spyderco, another Filipino martial art and blade designer extraordinaire. I got to thank him because his programs, aside from teaching and designing, the skill level is so high. I've always learned about him. And his designs with Spyderco is amazing. But the way he teaches his blade concepts comes with the responsibility regarding to the law. Because a lot of times we have this fantasy about being warriors and using it. Well, you're a civilian, you're really not going to war and everything else. You know the consequence of what you do. You really need to match and understand what you're doing. Then we had Bobby Brenton, a world-renowned knife thrower. We had Bram Frank, grandmaster of another Filipino martial art, that I use a lot of designs of all my knives that had the quick release, the Bram. I got to have him there and thank him also. So we have all these people that we got to bring down to at least interview and at least express my thanks to them. And of course, we had Jason Knight and Dave Baker from Fortune Fire drop by. It's always good to see my fellow judges in that whole event. The one thing I really took from the Blade Show in all these years, and now that I'm coming in from a point of view as one who has his own booth, people have to get together there because it's not the community. Everybody has the same passion, but they all love to gather down there just to be able to see other people who are sharing those passions.
It truly is a community, and it was awesome to see people. One of the things is like if you have a booth, it's like, oh, this is my knife, this is my knife. But there were so many people there from different businesses that were like, oh, that's a great design. I like that. Hey, that's really cool. And they were just like elevating people up, and it was so fun to see.
Yep. The very first time I went to a Blade Show was to release the Dart knife, like one of my first knives with Fox, Italy. And I remember how excited I was about that. Then when I got there, I go, oh, look how pretty, and that's beautiful, and that's beautiful, and that's beautiful. And I was like in a Miss Universe pageant. Every blade was beautiful in there. So what happens is it gives you a whole appreciation for all different stuff, all kinds of blade designs, the people behind it, how they make it, the new technology that's out there. That even if you're a blade maker, a blade designer, everything else, that's what's going to inspire you to go above and beyond with what you already got. If you only have this stuck in this world, this is all I've got, and you don't see the evolution of blades or the evolution of stuff or the designs, you're never going to up your game. A lot of times competition in going there ups your game because they'll serve to inspire you to be better. So there's a lot of things that I got out of it, Tomas, but I saw that you were busy. So tell me about your experience when you were out there.
Yes, sir. Well, I have to give a big thank you to Wicked Edge because they brought me onto their team. I love their sharpeners, and we had some really cool opportunities to be able to pocket check people. I think we came by your booth and we pocket checked you. That was Riot. And also, real quick, I have to give a huge thank you to Mrs. Marcaida, who was there at the booth holding the fort down. She was doing like 12 things at once.
Yeah.
Cups, shirts, blades. I was like, holy smokes. And then she would be like, hi, how are you? It's so good to see you. And I'm like, so she was on it. So we have to give thank you.
Well, everybody now knows my secret, right? She is the one behind my success. She's my strength and anchor. So we all know that now.
She is the secret weapon. I loved it. So being able to come by the booths and pocket check people, like you said, it brings a lot of people together. I also had a very unique opportunity. Well, probably one of the highlights for me was being able to do a test on a ballistic dummy.
Yes. Now you know why I'm always smiling and saying, that excitement just to express what you're doing with a ballistics dummy like George, right? The feeling just to go there, because as weapons practitioners, Filipino martial artists, it's one thing to just wave a blade in the air. It's another one to do impact with sticks, but it's something else when you're truly cutting something without even worrying about, what's going to happen with this blade. I just want to attack and cut this. That must be so satisfying for you, because I know I do.
It was incredible. It was also so scary. Doing it live. Doing it live was wild. At the Cold Steel booth, they literally just handed me like boxed up fresh blades, razor sharp, and they were like, take it out.
Oh, okay, folks. So let's put a lesson in here real quick. Pulling a blade that you've never trained with, right? And of course, the good thing is it's Cold Steel. We know their reputation. It's already manufactured, ready to go. In Fortune Fire, I never get to touch the blades because they're contestants made. We don't know the quality. We don't know how it's going to cut. We don't know the sharpness. We don't know the weight. I don't know the length of the weapon when I'm swinging, so my hands don't get in the way. So imagine how scary that is to do at Fortune Fire and to go crazy, to go, you want me to decapitate this? You want me to cut this pig in half with this? It's not even made for that, but it's how we test and everything. Okay, great. But you have to have that level of skill, right? Because I bet you in your mind, you're always thinking, what if the blade goes flying out of my hand? What if when I'm cutting something here, something gets in the way? So there's a lot of things that go into that. That's why you always tell people, yes, on the show, it's something that you love to do, but safety is paramount every time we do any of these. And we get away with it, and we look like we're smiling and having fun because, folks, this is what we do all the time. We do this all the time. It's in our blood to be cutting stuff and moving with blades because there's that utmost respect for it. Now, I'll say this. You play with sharp objects around that, and the word play can cut you. That's why the one time that I disrespected the blade because I was in a hurry and I got complacent because I do it all the time, I cut myself right there. And I was lucky that the blade, I have to get fancy. I was already doing good on stuff. Oh, let's get fancier. And whoop, okay, I guess you don't do that because I disrespected the blade. The blades are great. They're beautiful works of art. They're functional, but let's not forget what their primary purpose is to cut, and it can kill.
It certainly can. And on that note of the caution and everything, we made sure that people were a ways away. But one of my favorite moments that I saw myself in this kid, he was walking by and the dad's kind of like, oh, that's way too violent. And the kid kind of like pulls away and he comes back over and he's just like, he's in awe. And right before I did the decap with the Jimmy Slash Chopper, I get everyone on, I go decap, and the whole cross country. And I have it on video. I'll see if I can put it in here. I do it.
Yeah.
His eyes just go nuts. And that was the same feeling that I had before I experienced the Filipino martial arts. So I was honored to share some of my training with original Garona Escrima, some of the movements that we do, and inspire that next generation, that younger kids that were like just in awe. It was an honor. It was an absolute
Yeah.
honor.
It's great to be able to show the functionalities of the blades that are on the show. That's a beautiful thing. It will cut.
And that's so cool to think about because I didn't think about that before. Here I'm thinking, oh, you got like a couple days to train with it before. That's wild to know that you're just picking it up for the first time and just going crazy with it and not knowing the quality. There could be a crack in the temper. There could
Yeah.
be a warp.
It's happened.
Wham! Oh my gosh. That's
Yeah,
even
and it's
more
scary. That's like,
incredible.
and we've learned to actually, as we're cutting, not to say, as we're cutting, we move out of the way. So in case it breaks, it goes this way. Or as you're pulling back. So we use lanyards on the show. Lanyards you don't use in combat. You don't want to be stuck to your blade, but we use it because for the safety of those that are walking around. And I've had an issue where I've actually, it was so the blockiness of the handle and the slipperiness, and it came off my hand with the impact, right? And that's where when I tugged, the sword came flying back at me. I'm like, whoa! Now I know why lanyards are not a very good idea when in use. Anything can happen. Also, we're starting to realize, okay, what's the consistency of fake blood supposed to be when we're doing all this with the ballistics dummy, right? Because a lot of times they have that syrupy and everything, they use soap. I'm like, whoa, not with my glove. It's like, guess what? It's flying all over. So we learned a lot because, once again, though we have so much fun on the show, safety is paramount. That's the most important thing. We love the idea of it. We love the testing, but safety is more important than anything else.
It certainly is. And the last highlight that I want to share is that when you were talking about that handle design, it is so crucial. And it was also here at this Blade Show 2024, I announced my first blade. I'm collaborating with TKL Knives and we created the Tactav Tonto. And I'll put
Oh,
yeah,
congratulations.
thank
There
you.
we go. There you see, Tactical Tavern is now able to say he's also a knife designer. Not
Yeah.
just a practitioner, not just a sharpener, not just a reviewer, but a designer. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So we're in the Agent series. It was also with Bob DeMarco, who's also a Filipino martial artist. So they have Agent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're talking, and he goes, well, we need a 7. So I'm honored. It's Agent 007, the Tactav Tonto.
Oh, that's cool. One of the things that really makes me I take pride and I'm amazed in the knife world is the amount of people who are designers and users of the blade have a Filipino martial arts background, all the way from cold steel when you have Ron Balicki in there, all the way to Jared Wihungi when he's doing some of his Browning knives, and Fox when I do that. Also, we've got Michael Janik over there. You have Kelly Ward. He has so many of these luminaries. Bram Frank is another designer of blades. So many of the grandmasters, at least practitioners of the blade, are designers for worldwide top-notch companies. And so I take a little pride in that. And I say, thank you, man. I'm glad.
It's being able to carry that legacy and also hopefully help keep people safe, protected, and I think it's going to be really good. And talking about some of the new additions to the cutlery community, what were some of the things that you found exciting and new?
Well, it was exciting to release some new stuff on my booth. A lot of people didn't even know I was a knife designer. So I had all my business saying, what's all this, Doug? I'm like, these are my designs, collaborations. But I have this new shirt, the Da Vinci Doug. All my blade designs are in here, and this little Da Vinci Doug here. Also, the Grande Fratello, which is a special edition for the Blade Show, was released. Of course, there we go. Yeah, with a special handle to do that. They're all numbered and categorized. You can still get these because we still have had a surplus of these blades that we have left over from the Blade Show that you can find at dougmarcaida.com. There's also the patriotic flag. That was we had a competition with my wife. I designed this. She designed the flag with all the blades in there, and we call it the In Edge We Thrust shirt. So you can find those all at dougmarcaida.com if you want to get those things.
In Edge We Thrust. I love that. All right, so I'll tell you this. So we love the blades and stuff, but also the impact is important, especially talking about the ballistic dummy. A lot of people don't have the opportunity to cut that medium. So expect a couple of tutorials coming out soon, some videos, a short series as well, so you guys can quickly get that knowledge and hone your skills. But also let us know in the comment section down below, what would you guys like to learn? This series and this channel is for you guys. It's to share and document Filipino martial arts blade culture. So please let us know what tutorials you guys would like to see, and we'll bring them to life.
Keep your minds going, folks. Ask us those questions. Those questions are just like the grinders or the stones or the sharpeners to keep our minds sharp. So ask away.
Doug Marcaida, thank you so much. Congratulations on the new opportunities you have, and I'm excited to unleash that Karambit with you.
All right. Stay sharp, folks.